The U.S. administration welcomed the announcement by the parties to the conflict on the exchange of 880 detainees sponsored by the United. A spokeswoman for the U.S. National Security Council said this agreement represents a step to build on the positive climate. The statement praised the efforts made by the UN Special Envoy and the International Committee of the Red Cross to reach this agreement. The United Nations Special Envoy Hans Grunberg announced yesterday that the warring parties in Yemen have reached a prisoner exchange deal and called on the parties to build on such a positive step to work for sustainable peace. This report has more.
After 10 days of discussions to address the tragic 8-year-old conflict in Yemen, the United Nations Special Envoy for Yemen announced on Monday the planned release of 887 conflict-related detainees from all parties. The current round of discussions concluded with some positive outcomes, according to the Monitoring Committee on the Implementation of the Detainees Exchange Agreement. Yemen's almost decade-long conflict and the immense protracted humanitarian crisis that ensued began in 2014, when Houthi insurgent forces took control of the country's capital and largest city, Sana'a. After extensive diplomatic efforts, the warring parties agreed to a truce in April 2022. During the most recent round of negotiations, the parties agreed on implementation plans to release the detainees and to reconvene in mid-May to consider additional releases. They also committed to exchange joint visits to each other's detention facilities and to enable access to all detainees during these visits. Grunberg asked the parties to expedite the execution of the releases and to build on Monday's outcome by agreeing on more releases. In 2018, the parties signed the Stockholm Agreement, which outlined 3 areas for action: prisoner exchanges, a ceasefire, and civil society participation along the road to peace. In addition, Grunberg urged the parties to release additional detainees on an ongoing basis and unilaterally, noting that this development is a step in the right direction for the parties to fulfill their obligation under the Stockholm Agreement to release detainees related to conflicts. While the overall environment has stabilized since 2022, concerns persist as Yemen deals with economic difficulties and parties' attempts to end the conflict, which has caused millions of people to be displaced and left many families struggling to survive. In 2022, aid agencies assisted nearly 11 million people every month. Much remains to be done, Grunberg has said. A comprehensive and sustainable end to the conflict is necessary if Yemen is to recover from the devastating toll the 8-year conflict has had on its men and women. Addressing the Security Council on March 15, the Special Envoy said much had been achieved over the past year, and now it is time for the next step. The parties must seize the opportunity presented by this regional and international momentum to take decisive steps towards a more sustainable future, he said. That requires patience and a long-term perspective, and this requires courage and leadership.